Thank you for watching this recording of the webinar on Canvas series. This is part 4 of 10, and this focus is on advanced formatting in content pages. The techniques that I'll be covering today work both for content pages and any place where the rich content editor is available in Canvas. So that includes the syllabus page, also, as we'll get to in future sessions, discussions, announcements, and even assignment to directions. Remember, as always, I like to begin by talking about or reminding you that a module is a great way to organize content and organize other material in the class. It helps you guide access to the course material for your students and gives you a way to provide instructional context for any multimedia elements that you have in your class. So the first topic today is to talk about HTML and CSS. I'm going to give a short primer on those. I'll talk about the HTML editor whitelist. We'll do some practice with image alignment, and then I'll talk about simple tabs and where to get content in the Commons. The HTML editor whitelist, I have the URL for its location there. It's basically a way that Canvas limits the HTML tags and CSS attributes that can be used in Canvas rich content editor. HTML basically is the language that the web pages are written in. It is what is interpreted by the browser to display on our screens. And HTML basically has to do with the structure of the page and the elements. CSS is cascading style sheets. HTML is hypertext markup language, in case you wanted to know. So HTML, again, for the structure of the page. CSS is for the formatting of the page, of the elements within the page. So we can use CSS to do things like change colors and those types of things. Canvas does have a lot of CSS built into it, so that it is what gives the look and feel of pages in Canvas their consistency. And there are some things that we can do as page authors to use the CSS to take advantage of that, and I'll be covering some of those things in this session. The limits that Canvas puts on that are both for security, to prevent the pages in Canvas from being distorted in any way, and also for style, to keep that consistency of the way that pages appear. One example that I'd like to demonstrate for you, and that'll probably be useful in your classes, is image alignments. So this is HTML, and image alignment is always relative to the paragraph that the image is in. In the screenshot that I have pictured here, I have an image of a silhouette, and that image is right aligned, means the text flows around it on the left side of the image, is aligned to the right side of the window. Also on the page here, I have in Courier fonts that the actual code that you add for to change the alignment. So the less than sign is how the HTML tags begin, and then IMG is the actual tag for an image. There will be a lot of other information inside the IMG tag, but what you're going to add is the word align, the equal sign, and then within quotation marks, whichever alignments you want to apply. And it's important that you have a space before the word align and also a space after that second quotation mark, and I'll be demonstrating this in just a moment. The options for image alignment include left, right, middle, top, and bottom. Again, the screenshot picture here with a silhouette is right aligned. And it's time for practice time. So I will go ahead and do some demonstration and show you changing the alignment of an image. And to do that, I'm going to open up a web page I already have. So this is my webinar on Canvas practice account that I've been using. And I will go into the modules area. And I have a page called the Cold War Overview. In this case, I'm going to add some contents to this page. So I will go ahead and edit it. I'm going to paste some text that I found. And also, I'm going to insert a picture here in this first paragraph. And I'll go ahead and just use the Canvas Flickr search here. And I'll look for a picture of Okay, again, while I'm focused on this, I'm noticing that for the Flickr search, what's nice about it is the alt text is selected. I can change this if I want. I can change the dimensions either at this place or I can change it after I've inserted it. So you'll notice here that this picture, well, that looks a little bit big. So I'm going to click on it and then grab one of the handles to make it smaller. Okay, so this is what a picture looks like. I'll go ahead and click the Save button here. This is what it looks like when a page has a picture inserted in a paragraph and the picture is not aligned. So I want to fix that and make it look a little bit better so the text flows around it. Again, to change the image alignments, I need to edit the page. I do need to open up the HTML editor, and I'm looking for that tag that is IMG for that image. And within it, I can see that it is right here. Let's see, IMG. So if I got that IMG selected, right, you can see the alt tag there for Joseph Stalin. And again, the SRC, that's the source of the image where the image is located. I'm going to make the text a little bit bigger here, so hopefully it's easier to see. So what I want to do here is insert into the image tag I want to insert into the image tag the word align equals, and in this case, I'm going to make it right aligned. RIGHT, close that quote, put a space in. Again, it's important that there's a space before the word align. This is part of the HTML, the rules of HTML, the grammar of HTML, and also a space after the closing quote there. Okay, so I've got image line right. That should look good. If I switch back to the rich content editor view, I should see that that picture is aligned right. Let me reset my browser window. And now if I click Save, I indeed have that image right aligned. So I hope that made sense. I did need to edit the HTML to change the alignment of the image. While I was there, again, I made it right aligned in that example. I could have, again, done those other options that were listed on that slide. For the next option I'd like to talk about is what are called simple tabs. This gives me an opportunity to talk about the style sheet that's actually built into Canvas. So the same style guide that Canvas developers use as they're developing the pages in Canvas, as they're working on their tools, that style guide is actually available to all of us. And all you need to do is take the URL for your Canvas instance and put /style guide at the end. And if you are working with I'm going to show you the simple tabs, what that looks like. I've got a screenshot over here on the right side that says Unit 2 Instructional Content. And you can see how there are 6 different tabs for that. That's actually all one single page within the rich content editor. But because I'm using the tabs style guide, I'm able to do those tabs there on the page. I will go ahead and actually demonstrate that because I don't have a practice time built in for this. So again, taking any Canvas URL and basically at the end putting in style guide. Will take me to the CSS for Canvas, and basically I'll be copying some HTML and then pasting it into a content page, a rich text editor. I can see that tabs is one of the options over here, and here are the tabs. I can see what the examples are. So all I need to do is copy that tab, that code rather, and I'm going to select the code on the tabs list here, and I'm going to copy it, and then go into my course. I'll go back to my modules, and I'm going to take a look at a page here. I think I've got a couple of things here. I'm going to make a couple of tabs on this page. So I'm going to edit this page, go into HTML editor. And in this case, I'm going to put that code at the top, and I'm going to do some moving around here to make all this work. There's one very important change that I need to make in this code. That first div tag, which is div ID equals style guide tabs demo regular, I actually need to change that from ID to class. So it's a div class, and the class attribute is going to be enhanceable underscore content space tabs, okay? So again, I'm getting rid of that style guide tabs at the ID for the div, and I'm actually going to make it div class equals enhanceable content tabs. And then within the HTML, I can see here tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. Well, in this page, I've got picturing victory, so I'm going to go ahead and call that tab 1. So let's get rid of that and call this tab 1. And then for tab 2, remember my other heading 3 was President Truman on victory. So I'll select that text there. And then replace tab 2 in the top section with President Truman on victory. And then where it says tab 2 content, tab 1 content, oh, by the way, I'm going to get rid of tab 3 entirely. Actually, I'll leave that there for demonstration purposes. So for tab 1 content, tab 1 I replaced with picturing victory. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself some space there and take this, there's a paragraph here, another paragraph of the image, and move that into the space for the div ID tabs 1. And then for the div ID tabs 2, again, replacing the text there that says tab 2 content. That tab 2 content was this section of the video. So I'll go ahead and again select that, and I can actually click and drag and move it up here. Okay. Again, I'll leave the tab 3 content there, and I'll go ahead and actually say here is some Now, this other stuff here, this paragraph, which is the random Latin text, I can actually move that on top of the tabs if I want, so that it's always there at the top of the page. And what I like to do actually is above that, let me go ahead and move that paragraph. And I'm going to shorten this up a lot. So I'm going to replace all that span with some friendly words to my students. Make sure you click on all the tabs before advancing to the next item. Okay, I do have to do a little bit of cleanup at the bottom here, and that's to get rid of this empty paragraph and this empty heading 3. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick comparison here. So I'm going to cancel my changes, select all this code, copy it, and then I'm going to hit cancel. Isn't this great? Canvas lets me know that I have unsaved changes, so I want to continue. Yes, I do. So again, to give you a comparison of what these pages look like, I have the aftermath of World War II, some random Latin text. I've got a section called Picturing Victory, another section called President Truman on Victory. If I go ahead and, you know what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go back to modules, and I'll do this demonstration in a slightly different way. So the aftermath of World War II, I'm going to add a page to this module, and I'm going to call it I'm going to call it a new page. It's going to be the World War II aftermath, and this is going to be called tabs, so we can get a direct comparison. Add item. Let's go ahead and click on that. I'm going to edit it. Go straight to HTML view because I have that HTML all ready to paste. And then I'll go ahead and click Save and Publish. And I don't see the tabs looking there. So let's see what I need to do to fix that. And edit that. Oh, I think I forgot to add the enhanceable content. Is that right? Div class equals enhanceable content. What did I miss? The word tabs. at the end of that. So there was a mistake that I made. I'm glad I made it. I'm glad it was recorded so you can see that. This is the key change I needed to make in the beginning of the div tag for these tabs. What's in the style guide is it's an ID instead of a class. So I'm switching that from div ID, whatever it was, to div class equals enhanceable content tabs. Now when I click save, it should work, and it does. So the previous page, right? This is that World War II aftermath, which is a long page. Not that long, but you've got the 3 sections there, or sorry, the 2 sections there. And then if I look at the page with tabs, notice how each time I click on a tab, that information at the top of the page is there. Again, warning my students to make sure they click on all the tabs before they click that next button in the thing. So how I would use this, or why I would use this, is it allowed me to take what could be a really long content page and break it up. Instead of using those headings to break it up, I could use tabs. And as you've seen, it does take a fair amount of fiddling with the HTML. The key thing, again, to keep in mind is that the and again, here's that long page. You can see that. And then I've got these bullets up here, which I know from looking at the HTML that those bullets are actually the tabs up there. And again, it's very important that the div for this is changed to enhanceable underscore content space tabs as a class, and not the div ID that's part of the style sheet. Maybe not so simple. Okay. A final topic to cover in this advanced formatting is to import a custom homepage. So what I have there as a screenshot is a homepage that is used by the @ONE program in their I have a sample page there that is used by the @ONE program in their course on Introduction to Teaching with Canvas. And what you can see here from the screenshot is you basically got an image there, the @ONE logo and the Canvas logo, the OEI logo is there. You've got some links there. Those are links to internal pages. So we've covered that before, but what is different about this is or I should say, are the buttons across the top: modules, discussions, syllabus announcements, and start here. Those go directly to pages within a Canvas class. And also at the bottom there are a couple of links: edit your user profile, set up your notifications, with some icons that are there. And that course is actually created by the @ONE director. Her name is Anna Sterling. And she shared that within the California Community College system in the Canvas Commons. It does require possibly some page HTML editing, and I'll go ahead and show that to you right now. So in the Canvas Commons, from the global navigation inside Canvas, I can click on the Commons link, and before I click on that, I'm going to click on the home page so I can show you what I'm looking at here. The home page for this class right now is set up to be the course activity stream, and it's actually in a future class I'll be talking about changing the homepage, but I do want to show you what it's look like to import a custom homepage. And this could actually be a custom page of all kinds of stuff. The Commons has a lot of wonderful material. So this course we're in is called Webinar on Canvas. I'm going to remember that because when I go to the Commons, the Commons is a place where anyone who uses Canvas, anyone in the world, can create and share and find content, quizzes, assignments, discussions, entire courses, and this is all stuff that we're sharing with each other. The ability to share, you can share within your college or district. So for Los Rios, we'll be able to do that. You can also share, because we're at the California Community Colleges system, we have an option to share just within our system, California Community Colleges. And then finally, of course, you can share with the entire Canvas community. So in this case, for the purposes of this, I already know what I'm looking for. It's in the California Community Colleges. So if I click that on the consortium's link there, there are only a few items here right now. And one of them is this example homepage. So if I click on it, I can take a look at a preview down there. As a user, I can give feedback if I want to. I can also read a description, and I can, well, I like it, so I'm going to go ahead and import it into my course. Notice that I have two options here for getting it into it. Because I'm already logged into Canvas, I can from this screen here, import into any of my classes like my webinar in Canvas. I can also download it, and I can download it to my local computer and then import it into my Canvas course. So depending on which server I'm connected to, I may or may not have, I may need to download it first. In this case, I was already logged into our server. I found the resource in the Commons. I'm going to click on the course I want to import it into, and I'll click the button to import. This is a pretty small resource, so the import should be fairly quick. So I'll go ahead and go into my courses and go into this webinar on Canvas. And if I go into my Pages tool, I can see that it's already there, this example homepage. So this is something, again, that was created by Anna Sterling. She's using that CSS style there, shared it with California community colleges, and I have a page here that I can go ahead and edit. When we cover the homepage, I'll actually talk about how to make this my homepage here. But to edit it, what I would do, right, you see the add a personalized banner here, so I'm going to probably replace that image with something that's appropriate for my class. I could replace, put an image of myself if I wanted to. But the thing that I want to talk about in particular with the editing, or why I would edit it, another reason why I would edit it is when I go to the edit this page, again, there's that image, right? So I can replace this image with something else. Let's see if I've got any images in this class yet. Oh, no, I don't. So why don't I go ahead and upload a new image, and I will go find an image to upload. Let's see here. So in this case, I have found an image that I want to replace the default with, and I'll go ahead and select that and click Open. Okay, and then I'll click the Upload button. And now that image is there. Again, I want to make sure that I correct the alt text because I just imported this off my local computer. So I will select it and then click the Embed Image button from the toolbar. And this will allow me to change the alt text. I can change the aspect ratio if I want to. And then click Update. So I've went ahead and replaced that. The other thing that I want to look at while I'm editing the page, again, you know, the default information, of course, I want to change, but the links that are up here, so those are the buttons that are up there. You'll notice how they are links, and when I'm looking at the edit mode, that's because we're using CSS to make those look like buttons. But I may not have a Start Here page that I've created or I want to create. Maybe I'm not using the discussion tool in my class, in which case I would, again, want to make sure that I edit those links out. And then when I save, that page will be adjusted based on, again, the tools that I'm using up top. And you can see that I've changed that image, and then, of course, I would have changed the other information on this page. So that, again, was importing a custom page from the Commons and then editing it. And this is a great resource for us because someone else has gone ahead and done the CSS and done the HTML to make the page look the way that it looks. So I hope that this webinar was useful for you, that this recording was useful for you. We did a short primer on HTML and CSS. We looked at the whitelist of which HTML and CSS tags are allowed in Canvas. I showed you an example of how to use some simple HTML to align the image so that text flows around it on a page. And then we also took a look at the tabs using the built-in CSS from Canvas. And then finally, getting some custom stuff that was in the Commons that other users have created that we can import into our own course. I hope that this has, again, been useful for you, and look forward to seeing you in the next session of the Canvas webinar on Canvas series.